Hi, my name's Mike, and I was an ALS caregiver for my wife for 2.5 years. We were married for 46 wonderful years. Uh, my wife didn't have a sick day in her life, was a completely healthy person, so the onset of ALS and the subsequent dealing with the symptoms were extremely difficult for her, of course, and as well as for me. I lost my best friend to ALS. People often talk about what can friends do to help the caregiver and the PALS, the patient with ALS. The first thing that you can do is spend time. Give the caregiver some respite time by scheduling a couple hours to spend with the PALS so that the caregiver can run errands, go to lunch, have breakfast with some friends, get some respite time without feeling guilty and without worrying about somebody not being there with the PALS. So the first thing you can do is volunteer that, hey, I'm going to come every Tuesday at 10 o'clock and I'll be there till noon. Or I'm going to come every Thursday at 3 o'clock and I'll be there till 5. It's really helpful if you could schedule a time so that everybody knew that you were going to be there. Obviously, sometimes you'll be out of town, or sometimes you'll have a cold, or you'll have something that comes up. But in general, if we can count on you as a caregiver to give us that respite time on a scheduled basis, that's enormously helpful to know that you're going to be there at these scheduled times. The other thing that you can do is put yourself down on a list to say, I don't know when I'm going to be available, but if you need somebody, give me a call and I'll be there. And it gives the ALS caregiver a list of people to call that can come and spend some time with the PALS. So put yourself down on a list that'd be willing to spend time. One of the things you should do is don't ask what you can do it. One of the things an ALS caregiver, at least I was always bothered by, is people would say, call me if you need anything. Well, I don't know what that means, call me, I need a lot of things. Why don't you do them rather than say, call me if you need help? Of course I need help. Dealing with a caregiver, dealing as a caregiver with an ALS patient is extremely difficult. So think about what you can do and do it rather than asking about doing it. For example, don't say, if you need a meal, call me and I'll be glad to make you one. Make the meal. Bring it over. Don't ask, just do it. Make the meal. The other thing you can do as far as food is make the meals in individual meal sizes. A tray of lasagna is a lot more complicated for the caregiver than individual meals of lasagna, for example. So that the individual meals can be frozen and pulled out and used for a dinner, rather than trying to figure out what to do with a large pan. So think about providing individual meals, which is extremely helpful. If you're out of town and you're and you have a friend that's has ALS, get on Skype, call them, talk to them. We have friends in England who Skyped with us. Obviously they couldn't be here, but they got on Skype and we could talk to them, and even if the PALS could not speak, they could sit next to you and see them on the screen, and it was helpful knowing that they care. So there's things you can do even if you're out of town. And think about those things, because they would really be helpful. If you're not comfortable with Skype, pick up the phone and make a call. Every couple of weeks, a phone call to just say, how are you doing? I put the people who called on speakerphone so my wife could hear them, and at least she knew. I didn't relay the information to her. She sat next to me and we could talk to the people, or I could talk to the people, and she could hear the conversation and at least know that these people care. If you have the means and you can fly into town, again, we've had some people that came into town a couple of times during the 2-year period that we were dealing with my wife's ALS symptoms. And it was just enormously wonderful that they took the time to get on a plane and came into town and spend a couple of days with us, and sat with my wife and talked to her on a one-to-one basis about their past and the things that were going on. So if you can do that and you have the financial means to fly in, then fly into town and spend a little time with the ALS patient. Again, it doesn't have to be every week, even if it's twice a year. It's really meaningful. And think about the kinds of things you can do, the kinds of things I'm talking about, which will really be appreciated by the caregiver and the ALS patient.